Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Richard Guthrie, the self-proclaimed food doctor. And by my side today in the kitchen, as always, is my trusty sidekick, my home sous chef, my son, Shalin Guthrie, the self-proclaimed
food apprentice.
That's right, buddy. Well, we want to welcome you to our YouTube channel and our first episode of The Food Doctor. Now, when we were considering names for our channel, we had a few in mind, but we ultimately settled on The Food Doctor for a couple of important reasons. Number one, I am in fact a real doctor. I don't just play one on TV. And number two, I'm pretty sure this guy here is going to follow in my footsteps someday and hopefully take over the channel when I'm done. Now, since you heard me say that I am a real doctor, here's just a touch of background. First, I'm proud to be a DO, or Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. DOs and MDs can do all the same things, but we DOs are taught a holistic approach to caring for patients as people, which I like to think carries over into the way we view life, family, health, and yes, cooking in a holistic way as well. Also, I came to medicine at an older age and through military service. So I've got some real life experience behind me. But it all started back where I was born in a small farming community called Scenery Hill in Pennsylvania. We had an apple orchard, and in addition to that, we were able to grow or hunt most of our food. Eventually, we moved to a small coal mining town called Cokeburg, Pennsylvania. And I had no idea back then, but man, was I blessed to eat in the kitchens of British and Italian and Polish and German and Croatian and Slovakian and other immigrants. And I like to think that those experiences helped turn me into the person and into the home chef that I am today. Okay, so enough about me. On this channel, we'll be cooking from scratch and eating clean. We'll be sharing some food adventures from our local and distant travels, and maybe telling you about some of the kitchen equipment that we love. Basically just celebrating everything culinary, because to us,
cooking is creating.
Cooking is creating, right, buddy? So don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel,
The Food Doctor.
The Food Doctor, so that you know when each new episode drops. Okay then, for our first episode, we debated long and hard about what to make with you today. Our recipe library is growing exponentially in this unique time for our country and our world. And we've been trying to cook and bake something new at least once a week. But for the inaugural episode, we decided on an old faithful recipe that feels
and tastes
good anytime. Chocolate chip cookies.
Yum.
So admittedly, I'm not great yet at writing my own recipes. I have a few that I've come up with along the way or that have been passed down, and we'll definitely be sharing those at some point. But what we usually do in our home kitchen is take a recipe from a source that we love, like America's Test Kitchen or Eating Well magazine or Taste Buds Kitchen or Kids Stir, and we tweak that recipe to our liking or just to be adventurous and creative. And that's exactly what we'll be doing today.
Of all the batches of chocolate chip cookies we've made here in our kitchen, the one we'll be sharing with you today is by far our favorite. We credit the basic recipe to America's Test Kitchen, Ultimate Chocolate Chip Cookies. And through some experimentation, we've made a few adjustments that are all unique in their own ways. We'll point out the additions and tweaks when we get to them. Well, we've gathered the ingredients already, so let's get right into the video.
Okay, here we go with the ingredients, and right off the bat, this is one of our variations. The original recipe calls for 1 3/4 cups or 8 3/4 ounces of all-purpose flour. Now we used 1 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, or 6 1/4 ounces, and 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour, or 2 1/2 ounces, just because we feel like that really enhances the nutty, bold flavor of the cookies. Next, we have 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. We have 14 tablespoons of unsalted butter, basically divided into 10 tablespoon portion and a 4 tablespoon portion. we have 3/4 cup packed dark brown sugar, or 5 1/4 ounces, and 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, or 3 1/2 ounces. And I always feel like weighing the ingredients is much more accurate, so do go ahead and get yourself a really good kitchen scale. Next, we have 1 teaspoon of salt, and we used fine ground Morton's salt for this step. We have 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1 large egg plus 1 large yolk. And finally, almost, we have 7 1/2 ounces of chocolate. Now, the original recipe calls for semi-sweet or bittersweet. We happen to not have enough semi-sweet, so we mixed 4 ounces of 66% cacao dark chocolate with 3 1/2 ounces of semi-sweet chunks that I cut up from a baking bar.
And don't forget, you could substitute caramel and or peanut butter chips for some of the chocolate.
And then the last step is optional. It's 3/4 cups pecan or walnuts, toasted and chopped. And we chose pecans, just personal preference. And I toasted it in about 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Okay, the first step, as always, is to adjust the oven rack to the middle position and preheat the oven to 375 degrees. Okay, the next step is to line 2 baking sheets with parchment paper, and for this step and for baking all cookies, we favor the lighter colored baking sheets so the bottoms of the cookies don't burn. Whisk together the flours and the baking soda and then set it aside. Okay, the next step is to brown 10 tablespoons of butter over medium-high heat in a skillet. And it can be kind of hard to see when the butter gets brown, so I just go by the aroma, really. When it starts to smell kind of nutty, I know it's pretty much done. And if you swirl it well enough, you can kind of see the brown butter coming to the top, and you know that the color is starting to change. You can see the butter starting to turn brown at the top there. So after the butter is sufficiently brown, you transfer the brown butter to a heat-proof bowl, a large one. And you add the other butter to it. You can smell that nutty aroma coming through. Okay, next you add the brown sugar, the granulated sugar, the vanilla, and the salt to the melted butter, and you whisk it until it's fully incorporated. Hi, Rosie. Next we add the egg yolk and the egg. We're going to whisk those until the mixture is smooth and there aren't any sugar lumps remaining. And it's going to take about 30 seconds to a minute. So after you have it whisked again, you're going to wait another 3 minutes and then whisk again for 30 more seconds. You're going to do that 3 times. Okay, now this is what it's going to look like after each turn whisking. And the point of whisking and waiting is to allow the sugar to fully dissolve into the mixture. All right, so after you mix it up 3 times with the whisk, you're going to end up with a caramelly smooth, shiny, thick substance that is just waiting for the flour. All right, next on this step, you're going to mix in the flour mixture just until combined, and we have found that using a rubber spatula is the best tool for this, and it's only going to take about a minute to fully combine this ingredients here. Next, in go the chocolate chunks and the nuts, if you so choose. All right, you want to stir these in. And once you get it all incorporated, you want to give it one final stir just to make sure that there aren't any flour pockets or air pockets remaining anywhere. All right, here comes the fun part. Now, working with about 3 tablespoons of dough at a time, you want to roll it into a ball and place it on the parchment paper. And that looks perfect, buddy. These are gonna really fall down and out, and so you wanna kind of really space them apart and only put about probably 8 on each cookie sheet. So as you can see, our cookies ended up pretty big, and we were gonna try to fit 8 on each pan, but we can only fit 6. So we do have a third pan we're gonna end up using. That's fine, no biggie. Just take a little extra time, but can't rush perfection, right? All right, so into the oven these are gonna go, and we're gonna cook them about 10 to 14 minutes, and about halfway through we're gonna rotate the pan so that they cook more evenly. Okay, so again, about halfway through, these are what they're gonna look like. We're gonna rotate the pan so that they cook more evenly. And in about another 6 to 8 minutes. These are going to be perfect. All right, so you want to cook these until they start to get golden brown on the top and the edges start to set, but they're still puffy and pillowy. And if you're lucky, because there's always a little bit of luck involved, the surfaces are going to have these cracks and crags in them. And that's how you know they're going to be done perfectly. All right, so we got the 2 big pans out now, just waiting for the third small pan to get done. And as you can see, by looking at the bottom of one of these cookies, it's not too burnt, just perfectly golden brown. And I think that has to do a little or a lot with using the lighter colored cookie sheet, because I have burnt my share and more of cookies using darker cookie sheets. So just a tip. What should I do, nothing? Well, there you have it. We hope that you picked up a few pointers and that you love these cookies as much as we do. If you have recipe requests that you'd like to see us make or other suggestions about how we can make our channel better, please leave them in the comments below and we'll do our best to respond.
Our goal is to post a new episode every week or 2. So please remember to like our videos and subscribe to the channel, The Food Doctor.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us today. See you next time in the kitchen. Until then, stay hungry. Truth. What do you think, Sean?
I can definitely taste that nutty flavor.
Mm-hmm. And that's from the wheat flour.
The wheat flour and the pecans are definitely kicking in.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Really chocolatey.
Can you appreciate the difference between the 2 chocolates? Semi-sweet and the dark?
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting both of them?
Definitely gives away the flavor.
Okay.
That's really good.